My brother, 34M, slept with my every girlfriend I, 35M, had for a decade before I went no contact, and now my parents want me to reconnect with him? I, 35M, went no contact with my brother a decade ago because at that point my brother, 34M, had slept with every girlfriend I had to that point. This always happened while I was still dating them. Two of them I was very serious about and avoided bringing them home because of my history with girlfriends and my brother, and even those were girls he slept with. Every time I was reminded by different extended family members that we were siblings and I shouldn't hate him forever for being young and dumb. He'd apologize some of the time. A few times I refused to talk to him for a while after and he'd act genuinely apologetic, but he kept doing it again. The last time when I went no contact he actually dated her for a while, and when he realized I wasn't coming back around as fast as I had before he apologized dozens of times and kept reaching out, but I muted, then blocked him, and I refused to be where he would be. My parents told me they would accept my response because they knew he had hurt me and did me wrong, but they asked me not to hate him as much as I did. I told them I would keep that hate from them, but I couldn't promise to stop feeling that way about him. After 2 years things between my parents and I became fractured. My brother was involved in a car accident and he sustained some serious but non-life-threatening injuries. My parents called to tell me and they wanted me at the hospital with the rest of the family, and I refused. I told them I did not want to see him and they said it could be serious. At the time I was honest, and it still holds true, and said I did not care. They couldn't come to terms with me feeling that way. Even though he wasn't in danger from the injuries, they said it haunted them that I would be so hateful to my own brother. I held back from admitting I thought worse before. In time I worked on rebuilding trust in therapy for myself, met my wife and married her, and now we have a family together. My brother has no part of it and I have never let up on being no contact. My brother has tried to apologize several times since, and I always tell the people he sends with letters that I am not interested in his apologies. He settled down with someone and he's now a father. But his baby was born very early, is very sick, and things are very uncertain for them right now. I have heard this from family and there's fundraising going on for them, and I read their story through that. Since this all started I have been receiving extra pressure from my extended family and my parents to reconcile with him. My parents said there is no better time to reconnect because if his baby dies, having his brother will be everything. I told them I was not the person to do it and I did not have the love or care for him to support him. They told me to let go of the past and to let go of childish behavior and be there for my brother during the worst time in his life. I really don't want to. I still hate his guts and have nothing kind to say about him. But the pressure is getting to me somewhat. My wife supports me either way and she told me I need to do what feels right for me and not for him or them. I'd like to hear the advice of others before I make my final decision, which is heavily leaning toward continuing with my boundaries and staying no contact. Comments.
Depending on the circumstances, I might be able to forgive once. Maybe. But every girl. Get the fuck out of here. Dude is a sociopath. Every girl for a decade. It caused me so much stress and so many issues personally. But people expected me to get over it and keep him while dumping the girls. It drove me crazy. How the fuck did he convince so many girls to cheat on you? That's fucking wild. I'm going to guess he didn't have to convince them all. But it happened and there's no getting past it. Sounds like your parents have a golden child, and it's not you. What he did was wrong on so many levels. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. When we 10x the same mistake, it is proof he did not love you or treat you like a brother. I do not understand why your family is asking you to treat him a way that he never treated you. I can't see any reason to have any relationship with him. Once or twice I could see being frustrating but possible to move on from. It would be douchey but a very different situation. Every girl you dated is straight up psychological torture. Your parents should be haunted by the fact that they raised a man who thought it was okay to do that to his brother. Know the pain he caused and continued to do it. The fact he thought he could get away with being horrible because of family. Getting you to forgive him will give them the past they need from the guilt or realization of their own failings. You'll resent yourself and your family if you give in for any reason other than genuinely wanting the relationship. You're totally right, and it's something I have acknowledged to myself. I don't want to give in just to lose my family, wife and kids, because I become a bitter asshole over succumbing to pressure like this.
My mom, 47F, wants me, 19F, to give her a second chance to fix our relationship after she let her husband's daughters bully me throughout my childhood and I'm torn. I, 19F, was 2 when my parents divorced. They shared 50-50 custody of me, which means I spent equal time with my mom at her house and with my dad at his. When I was 5 my mom met her husband and his daughters, who were 1 year old and 1 year younger than me. He had shared custody with their mom, and during their 2 years of dating we went a lot of places together so we could all bond. At the time I told my mom I felt like I was being excluded by his daughters and it didn't feel like we were sisters. My mom told me that was my shyness talking and she promised they loved me and we'd be sisters. During the wedding her husband's daughters pushed me into the drinks table and stepped on my dress, and when we were asked to take a photo together they stepped in front of me so I couldn't be seen. When it was time for a photo of my mom and her husband and the three of us, they refused to stand in the middle with me. I think I spent most of the wedding in tears, and by the end of the night my mom realized I was not getting over it super fast, and she told me not to stress because they were struggling with the wedding because their mom wasn't happy and we'd be back to normal when it was all over. But normal meant they walked out of the room when I came in, or it meant they made fun of me for things like my hair being frizzy or because I had to take extra reading due to a learning disability. It also meant they would exclude me from games with kids in the neighborhood, and when we were set up to play games together they would refuse to share with me. They used to argue with their dad over sitting next to me at dinner or in the car. They would actually lean into each other and away from me and would tell me not to touch them. My dad stepped in a lot to try and help me, but my mom would not listen to him. He tried to change the custody days around so I wasn't there when the girls were, but the judge refused to grant that. One time I got back to him and they had stuck 5 pieces of gum in my hair and he had to take me to get it all cut, which the girls mocked me for when I went back to mom. My mom then accused my dad of being abusive and aggressive because he yelled at her for doing nothing to protect me from the bullying. Other things they did was mess with, break or hide my stuff, and they would steal stuff they knew I really liked. The younger girl stole my favorite dress and gave it to one of her friends. They would spill drinks on my homework when I was almost finished. They even did it to my laptop when I had almost all my assignment done, and it was always intentional. Their dad never wanted to hear me talk about his daughters, and my mom would keep telling me it was all going to be fine and they loved me, but had a hard time showing it. One of the scariest things they did was when we were on vacation together 5 years ago. We were forced to go explore together and they abandoned me intentionally. They didn't want to hang out with me, and I blame my mom most of all for what happened. But they really didn't care what happened to me. I was lost for the whole day, and even when others started to panic they gave zero shits about my safety. They were telling jokes about the fact I might be dead, which they told me about and mom reluctantly admitted to. My dad brought that up in court and it was still not enough to get full custody of me or change the days I was there. What apparently did make a difference was my age and the fact they locked me out of the house without my cell phone or anything when my mom and their dad were away for the weekend at a wedding. It was raining and I had to sleep out there and everything. A neighbor saw me the next morning and she let me into her house, and I called my dad that way, and yeah, between that and my age when it happened I was allowed to just outright live with my dad. My mom cried at the time and asked to see me for lunch and stuff, but I told her no and my dad told her to go fuck herself. She went quiet for a few years and now has apologized, and she has asked me for a second chance to have a relationship with me. But I don't know. She let me down so bad, and even if she is sorry I don't know that I will ever forgive her or trust her to want her in my life. Comments.
She wasn't willing to give up her child free weeks, even to protect you from abuse. That sort of selfishness doesn't go away. Wow, I couldn't think of why she wouldn't change weeks, but that's it, isn't it? Every other week, they'd be child-free, and able to do whatever they wanted. What a shitty person. Oof, I'm sorry, OP. Your mom sucks. I would definitely not trust her enough to have a 40 million chance. She sucks and she fails as a mom hard. I don't know why she wouldn't do better by me even a little, but she put a fantasy over me almost my whole childhood. Because it really was as simple as switch weeks, so I never had to see her husband's kids. Han, she didn't want to switch weeks because she loved having child-free weeks. She is a selfish person and a failure as a mother.
My stepmother, 41F, has her third high-risk pregnancy and won't accept me, 18F, not helping her like the other 2 times? My stepmother, 41F, was my dad's affair partner for 2 or 3 years. When my mom found out about dad's, 46M, affair, she fell apart mentally. She already suffered from major depressive disorder, but she got really bad after learning about the affair, and just after the divorce from my dad was finalized she died by suicide. I, 18F, didn't learn of the affair until my mom died, and it broke me. That was 5 years ago, and I had to live with my dad and stepmother. They told me to either take a step back from my parents' relationship and just accept them being together because the rest is none of my business, or understand that my dad was with a mentally ill woman for 20-something years and he deserved to chase happiness where he could. But I wasn't giving dad a pass when my mom had her lows, but her condition was well managed for a lot of years and really only got bad again because he was having an affair for years and it destroyed her. He told me it still weighed heavily on him, wondering when she'd decline again or when something might set her off. So I didn't like living with them and I didn't respect or accept her. It bothered my dad a lot and he tried many times to talk me into giving her a chance, but I refused. While I lived with them, my stepmother had 2 high-risk pregnancies. I was expected to help her out more during them and I didn't. Whenever they tried to leave me with her I would make plans and stay out of the house. Or when she wanted my help I would ignore her. When he punished me for it I took the punishment and refused the next time it came up. He said family members, and especially household family members, help the high-risk pregnant women. I told him I wasn't her family member and she wasn't mine, and he said the baby would be if nothing else, and I said no to that too. I told him he wasn't my family member anymore either. A few times he threatened to send me to live somewhere else but refused when he saw how badly I wanted that. My stepmother complained nonstop about my lack of consideration for her and my unwillingness to put her health and the baby's health before everything else. She was very annoyed when nothing made me feel guilty for not helping her. I moved in with my grandparents after my 18th birthday. They're Dad's parents and we always had a good relationship, but that has changed in the last couple of months because my stepmother is pregnant again and she's high risk again and she expects me to help her this time and I have refused again. My grandparents keep trying to change my mind and my stepmother won't accept my refusal and she keeps demanding I help her and it sets my grandparents off. I have looked into getting a place of my own, but I honestly think I might just need to be homeless for a while because I won't help this woman. But they won't leave me alone either. I'm looking for advice because I don't know if there's more I could say to my grandparents to make them back off or if I could get my stepmother to shut the fuck up, which would make them lay off because she's not chasing after me anymore. Comments.
Ask if the risk of your stepmother's pregnancy weighs so heavily on your dad's mind, he's going to have another affair. Oh snap. Please do. Are you going to college? Maybe consider student housing if so. Maybe a woman's shelter for a while. Agreed. OP, you should also tell your grandparents that she and your father is the reason why you lost your mother. So why exactly should I help the people who are responsible for her death? Oh, I would totally mention that to stepmother and make sure that she knows that's a very big possibility considering your dad cheated already. Are you still in school? Do you work? Do you have any other family or friends you could stay with? Please don't choose homelessness, but I totally admire your commitment to your principles and I would be exactly the same way. I work full-time and I'm not in school. I don't have other family to take me in. My maternal grandma is the only relative left from my mom's family, and she's in a nursing home with dementia. My friends all live with their parents or grandparents and aren't looking to move out for a while. You can look into renting a room, obviously not as comfortable as living on your own, but it's a lot cheaper. I did it for a year when I was 18 to escape abuse. In the meantime, while you're renting a room, you can look for roommates online or word of mouth and make a better long-term plan.
My future MIL, 59F, and future FIL, 62M, asked me, 26F, to let them be the only parents at my fiancé's, 26M, and my wedding because my parents are my brother, 40M, and SIL, 40F. Sorry for the long and maybe confusing title. I'll clarify some stuff to make it make sense. Basically, my brother and I were born into a generational shitshow. Our parents had my brother young and he was mistreated his whole life. They lived with mom's parents and her two siblings. Her brother was 3 years older than my brother. Her sister was 3 years younger than my brother. Our grandparents were even younger having mom than our parents were having my brother. There was a lot of addiction and alcoholism in the family. My brother went through hell living there before I was born and I know a lot of it has filled him with hatred for our parents. Especially when he was blamed for the death of our mother's brother when my brother was still a kid himself. When I was born he was forced to step into the role of a parent for me and it still wasn't enough and I was removed from the house when I was 3. Neglect and physical abuse were the reasons. I bounced around in foster care for over 2 years before it was agreed my brother could have custody of me. He gave up on furthering his education to become stable enough to take me in and raise me. It was temporary for a couple of years with regular visits to make sure he was doing okay with it. He met my SIL in that time and the two of them together was probably the reason I was allowed to stay with them as my guardians. I don't remember living with anyone else in the family. I remember meeting our parents one time when I was maybe 10 and it was a mindfuck. They were still very troubled people. For most of my life I have considered my brother and SIL my parents. There are times I call them mom and dad. They call me their daughter at times too. But we also use brother and SIL, sister and SIL, it just depends on the context. What I know is without them I was not going to have a good life. I remember my time in foster care and I was bounced around and mistreated so much in the 2 years I was with others. There was no automatic forever family for me. I also wasn't eligible for adoption, which apparently lowered my value in the system. So the person I am today. The woman who graduated high school, went to college, found a good solid relationship and life for herself is here today because an abused teenager stepped up to take care of me and an amazing young woman committed herself to us during the early days of the process. I have nieces and nephews who are both nieces and nephews and siblings. Our family is not typical but I adore them and so does my fiancé. His parents were always very nice as well. They treated me well and never seemed judgmental of my family until my fiancé and I got engaged. Now they have requested being the only parents at the wedding and they said they could act as parents for both my fiancé and me. I was told my brother and SIL should be siblings and not parents. That it would look strange to outsiders when neither looks old enough to be my parents. My fiancé told them it wasn't their decision and they said it's something we should consider and they're trying to be helpful. They even mentioned our future kids and how they don't need to be confused about how they're related to people. I was told my wedding should not be all about the bad stuff my family has been through. I have always had a lot of respect and love for my ILs. My fiancé has failed to really get through to them and I think I would like to try but I'm not entirely sure of how or whether I should leave the ball entirely in his court. He is their son. But this is my family being discussed and I am proud of the family I claim. We love each other fiercely and would do anything for each other, which I think is what matters more than anything else. Comments.
Your wedding, not your mills. She asked, you say no. It's not her choice. You were basically raised by your brother. That makes him a parent. MIL, brother, and still are my parents in every way that counts. Our connection is more profound because it was created out of love, not obligation. I am not soliciting your input on how to treat them. Thanks. This is a perfectly worded response, OP. If they continue to bring it up, just say that the topic is not up for consideration. Usually I'd say let your fiancé handle his parents. But I think in this case you need to have a sit down with them and lay it all out. They are your parents. Parents aren't always the people who gave you life. Sometimes they're simply the people who shaped your life. They're the people who raised you, loved you, sacrificed for you. Period. Your parents are your parents, period. They can accept and support that, or they can GTFO.
My 24F boyfriend, 24M, completely ruined what should have been one of the happiest moments of my life. We are both 24-year-olds and have been together for more than 3 years. Yesterday I found out that my US student visa was approved. I've been working toward this for a long time, and he was one of the only people who knew everything that was happening throughout the application process. I trusted him with something I hadn't even told my friends yet. Last night, around 10 p.m., I texted him and said I had something important to tell him and asked if I could call. He said he was with his family, so I told him to let me know when he was free. After that, I went to talk to my mom. When I came back about 30 minutes later, I saw he had texted asking where I had disappeared to. I replied and asked if I could call now. Instead of calling, he asked what I wanted to talk about. I said I wanted to tell him on a call but asked if I should just text it instead. He said yes, so I texted him, my visa got approved. And guess what? His response wasn't congratulations, excitement, or even acknowledgement. He completely ignored it and said, "Is that why you've been busy?" I explained that I wasn't busy, I was just talking to my mom. Then he started complaining that I took too long to reply and told me to look at the timestamps. I asked what was wrong, and he said, nothing, and went offline. I called him because I was confused. He declined my calls multiple times. When he finally answered, he immediately started yelling at me, saying, "Why are you calling me now? Stop calling me on your terms." The thing is, I call him every day. He's usually the one who's busy or disappears for hours, and I never make a big deal out of it. I disappear for 30 minutes one time, and suddenly it's a huge issue. When I tried asking why he was acting like this, he literally told me to shut up and hung up on me. I ended up crying. I felt completely heartbroken because all I wanted was to share one of the biggest achievements of my life with someone I love. I sent him a long message explaining my side and how hurt I was. He responded, saying that I didn't care, that he was waiting for me after I said I had something important to tell him. I told him I did care and tried to explain, but he cut me off and said, "Don't call or text me anymore." I couldn't sleep all night after that. I ended up crying all night, feeling alone and unloved when I should have been celebrating with my partner. Any healthy partner would be happy for me, right? He had already gone to sleep, but I stayed up till 4 a.m. and sent him texts on how I felt, which he hasn't seen yet, but I know, when he does, he won't even acknowledge how he made me feel. In his eyes, I am always the one at fault, no matter what the situation is. There was not even a moment of acknowledgement from him. If it were the other way around, I would have been over the moon happy for him. I have always supported him, but when I am the one who needs support, this is exactly what happens. Every single time. I'm starting to realize a pattern where important moments in my life somehow become centered around him instead. Earlier this year, we had an argument and fought a day before my birthday, and the next day, he didn't even wish me. When I'd called him myself, he'd yelled at me that he didn't want to talk. We moved past it, though, and resolved everything. But for how long? I am tired of always being understanding and supportive but never receiving the same. I am beginning to resent him right now. Comments.
He's going to make an argument for you to not go if you love him. Show how much you love yourself and go. You deserve better. First of all, congratulations on getting your visa. Second of all, girl, for the love of Ray J, what are you doing dating this bottom-of-the-barrel man? There are 7 billion people on the planet and you think, mister, why did it take you 30 minutes to call me? Is the best the world has to offer? If you really hate yourself that much, get a facial tattoo. No need to encourage this bad behavior from people the rest of us have to occupy the planet with. In case I wasn't being clear, dump him. Starting to realize, Opie, this guy is controlling and emotionally abusive. Why would you want to be with such an awful, selfish person? I can assure you, he will only get worse. The more you are under his power and influence, the worse he will treat you. Honestly, it sounds like he's mad she got approved because it likely means she will go away from him and he won't have as much control. He's losing his hold on his supply without a backup and he's having a hissy fit.
I, 18M, celebrated my birthday without my mom, 44F, because she chose my stepsister's tastes over mine and now she wants another dinner for just us? I turned 18 a few weeks ago. My mom told me she wanted me to have a big family dinner at a restaurant instead of a party. She asked me where I wanted to eat and I told her my top 2 choices. One, I wasn't sure if they would be booked out or not, so I gave a backup. She told me she was cool with that and I let her do her thing with everything else. 2 weeks before my birthday I found out that she had changed the restaurant because my 6-year-old stepsister didn't like the food type and she instead chose her favorite restaurant without telling me. I checked it was true with my mom and we got into a fight. Then I told her to call it off or expect me not to show. She asked me why I was being so childish and I told her she was choosing to cater to someone else's tastes over mine for my birthday. She defended the decision and asked me why I wouldn't want to let my stepsister choose and she said it made her so happy to get the place she loves. I asked my mom whose birthday it was supposed to be. Then she asked me if I really wanted her to upset my stepsister and I told her I didn't care since she didn't care about ruining my plans. She said my stepsister would be miserable in the restaurants I chose and I said that wasn't my problem. My mom said that was so selfish and she's my little sister. I rolled my eyes and she told me she doesn't know a life where I'm not her brother and if she was my real sister I'd be okay with it. I told her I wouldn't be okay with it if she did it without me saying it was okay. The fight went on for 5 days and I decided to move out instead of the fight continuing so much. My mom's husband would try to intervene and he basically told me to grow up and expected that to defuse things. My mom never changed the plans and the 3 of them and a few of my mom's family and her husband's family showed up but I didn't go and a lot of guests didn't go. I also ignored my mom's calls that day. A few days later she texted and said she wanted to talk to me so I said we could talk on the phone. She told me it was her first time not celebrating my birthday with me and she hated it. I told her to blame herself and her choices. She asked me to be kinder about it because she just wanted to make my stepsister happy and she went on and on about how little she is and how she thought I'd want to make her happy. I hung up because I didn't want to hear more. A few days after that she apologized and asked if we could celebrate my birthday just the 2 of us and make up for the disaster dinner. I told her I'd think about it. My gut instinct was to tell her to fuck off and leave me alone. Another part of me loves her and doesn't want this to be a forever fight. But this isn't the first issue we had when it comes to the step stuff. She was really upset I wasn't excited to have a stepsister and that I didn't want to call her my sister. She was upset when I didn't want to do a Father's Day football game with her husband 2 years ago. I had to drop out of a digital art class I used to take because she wanted that afternoon for one-to-one time with my stepsister and I didn't drive at the time and nobody else could take me. I was not happy, which upset her because she thought I'd go along with it. She would also get upset with me not taking home treats to my stepsister when I ate out with friends or went to the store and she would cry that I wasn't as affectionate and loving as a brother and she wanted me to be. This feels like another version of all that and I think it'll keep being an issue so I'm not sure if another try is worth it. But I wanted advice because I'm not 100% committed to the fuck off method but it's still what my gut tells me to do. Comments.
If you're not wanting to tell her to F off, you could say, a dinner at this point will not make up for the fact that you thought it was okay to allow my stepsister to choose how to celebrate my birthday. I'm willing to try for next year's birthday, however, to see if your thinking has changed by then. She'll kick back, because she won't like hearing that her thought process was not appropriate. When she brings up the lack of a bond, point out her early choices that resulted in you giving up / not getting to participate in activities that you wanted that could have developed your own relationship with your mother have affected that relationship. And in denying those events so that she could develop a relationship with her stepdaughter, she also developed a sense in you that she values her more than you. That was never going to lead to you becoming closer to the person who was interfering with your relationship with your mother, even though she didn't do it herself or ask your mother to choose it. I'm sorry your mother is doing this. She is prioritizing her new husband and new stepdaughter. I feel like she is trying to win them over. Unfortunately, you have become collateral damage. She's already won him over, but she's definitely trying to make sure my stepsister sees her as her mom. She also wanted me to see my stepsister as a sister and be this doting older brother who spoils and coddles her, and I have disappointed her in that in every way.
Thanks for watching my video. Please like it and subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories.